Exposed, my cheating wife's hidden betrayal at our 20th anniversary led to an incredible revenge. Mark stared at the screen, his heart racing. Those words, the header of a blog post or maybe a headline that grab anyone's attention, stung like a hot knife in his chest. He thought about Sarah, the woman he loved since high school, his best friend and mother of their 2 kids. Tomorrow marked 20 years together, and he felt the tug of nostalgia. Yet, beneath that warm blanket of memories lay an unsettling chill, growing colder by the minute. They were meant to celebrate love, but there she was, his Sarah, the one who used to sparkle and laugh, now distant and quiet. It gnawed at him. At dinner, while they exchanged small pleasantries, he noticed her gaze drift, lost somewhere in the ether. The warmth of their shared jokes stood stark against the ice creeping into their casual conversations. Then it happened. One evening, while Sarah's phone buzzed across the table, curiosity gnawed at him. A message lit up the screen. His finger trembled as he glanced at it, the word striking fury into his mind: tonight, same place. His heart thudded painfully against his chest as he grappled with sickening disbelief. This was not a question he could ignore. It spiraled into panic, dread pooling in his gut. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. His mind raced from hurt to anger. As he delved deeper, piecing together whispers and subtle hints she let slip, he discovered more. Buried beneath the surface of their lives were financial worries they never dared to address, the weight of debt casting dark shadows over their days. One painful revelation after another cut through him like a relentless storm. The next morning, Mark sat at the diner, the comforting smell of coffee mingling with the chatter around him, a community that rallied together, sharing laughs and support. It would have been soothing, but his thoughts were a whirlwind. Friends offered sympathy and advice, each voice a reminder of resilience that stirred in him. They had overcome struggles, found ways to confront the hardest truths. But could he? The faces of his kids flashed through his mind. Torn between frustration and love, Mark wrestled with the notion of exposure versus healing. Would letting the world know really fix what was broken? Or would it cast a dark shadow over his children's innocence? That evening, while they sat around the dinner table on the brink of their 20th anniversary, Mark felt the tension thick in the air. Memories both sweet and sour danced before him, each laughter echoing a promise made long ago. Just as he opened his mouth to confront her, he hesitated. In her eyes, he saw panic mixed with regret, as if she were preparing to spill her own secret, something that held the power to change everything. Could this be the very moment where reconciliation or destruction hung in the balance? The air hung thick with unspoken words, pulling at each of them like a taut thread ready to snap. Mark's heart raced, caught between the past he cherished and the uncertain future before him. What had he heard or seen that could guide his choice? Would they crack open this twisted reality together, or would it all come crashing down? Mark cleared his throat, the sound echoing louder in the silence than he had anticipated. He was stalling, his mind racing through all the things he wanted to say, yet he felt fear trapping those words inside him. He glanced at Sarah, and for the first time, he noticed how her hands trembled slightly as they rested on the table. His heart twisted painfully. Was regret flashing in her eyes, or was it just the dim candlelight casting shadows on her face? "Sarah," he began, feeling his voice thickening with emotion. "We need to talk." She bit her lower lip, her eyes darting around the room as if seeking a way out. Mark's throat constricted as he watched her. He could see the struggle play out on her face. She wanted to say something, but the confidence seemed to drain from her like sand through fingers. He swallowed hard, pushing past the knots in his stomach. "About us, about everything." The weight of the words hung heavily between them. Would she confess? Or would this turn into one more dinner filled with avoidance? I know you've been distant, he pressed on, the desperation in his voice rising. I found a message on your phone. I need to know what's really going on, Sarah. Can we not hide from it any longer? Her eyes widened fearfully, and Mark noticed the way she clenched her fists, her nails digging into her palms. He could almost see the walls she had built around herself, constructed one brick of silence at a time. The air was charged, filled with the tension of truths that had yet to break free. Mark, she hesitated, exhaling deeply as if struggling to gather the courage to speak. I was going to tell you, it's just she faltered. There it was, the part that might finally pave the way to clarity. But before she could finish, the kids burst through the door, laughter trailing behind them. The moment splintered like glass under a heavy weight. Mark felt something inside him shift, crushed beneath the simultaneous outburst of familial joy and his crashing reality. Mom! Dad! We're back! The kids were filled with exuberance, swarming around the table with stories of adventure and fun. Mark wanted to soak it in, wanted to smile, but the distance between him and Sarah widened with each passing giggle. Her expression morphed into a mask of motherly warmth, earning soft embraces and playful tussles, while the warmth in his chest waned again, replaced by a cold fear. As they all settled to eat, Mark remained stuck in his own thoughts. The kids chattered about school, friends, and future dreams while Mark glanced at Sarah, scanning her face for any hint of what lurked beneath her smile. She was acting like everything was normal, but he could see the tremors of panic just beneath the surface. The clock ticked loudly in the background, each second another reminder that tomorrow was meant to be a celebration of their love he now questioned intensely. He looked down at his plate, then looked at Sarah who was still teasing their youngest about leaving his shoes in the living room, a facade that felt painfully hollow. Do we even know what we're celebrating? The words slipped out before he could catch them, laced with quiet desperation. Her laughter faltered, her eyes locking onto his, and for a heartbeat, reality seemed to suspend. Everything felt heavy and charged, poised on the edge of a cliff. Would the truth finally spill over, drenching them both in absolution or grief? There, in the chaos of the dinner table, wrapped in laughter that felt like a distant echo, Mark wondered how it could lead to anything but change. Would this be the night they faced their hidden battles, or slip deeper into a cycle of pretense? The moment of truth felt as if it loomed just beyond the dinner plates. As the meal drew to a close, he gripped the edge of the table. Tomorrow was the anniversary, but tonight, a decision brewed in the back of his mind. Would he confront Sarah again before dawn broke, or would they continue dancing around the truths that bound them? And as the kids clamored about dessert, Mark couldn't shake the feeling that something had to give. Something had to change. But would it be the truth or the lie that broke the surface first? The laughter of the children slowly faded as the reality of their strained silence began to settle over the dinner table like a heavy blanket. Mark could feel the weight in his chest intensify. He wanted to reach out to Sarah, to bridge the chasm that had formed between them, but he didn't know how. There were too many unspoken words swirling around. The kids, oblivious to their parents' turmoil, finished their dessert and began discussing plans for activities the next day. Mark forced himself to engage, answering questions about their favorite games and pretending to listen, but all he could think about was Sarah's hesitation. What was stopping her from just telling him the truth? Can we go to the pool tomorrow? Please. Their youngest chimed, pulling Mark back from his spiraling thoughts. He nodded, managing a tight smile, but his gaze instinctively returned to Sarah. She was stacking the empty plates, her movements quick and almost frantic. It was as if she was trying to escape not just the moment but the conversation waiting to be had. Hey, I'll help, he said, getting up from the table. As he moved closer to Sarah, he could see the faint furrow lining her brow. Her focus shifted from the plates to him, their eyes locking for a brief moment. An unspoken question flickered in the air between them, one that begged to be answered. She stopped what she was doing and took a deep breath. Mark, she whispered, her voice trembling. Can we talk later after the kids are in bed? The request both relieved him and sent a fresh wave of anxiety through his body. He nodded slowly, his mind racing with what she might reveal. What if it was worse than he imagined? What if it was something he couldn't bear to hear? He tried to swallow down the growing dread. They had spent 20 years building a life together. Surely they could face whatever lay hidden, but the fear lingered, thick in the air. After the kids were finally tucked in and the house settled into silence, Mark found himself pacing in the living room. Each step seemed to echo the myriad of thoughts crashing through his mind. It was a dance of doubt and hope, each one pulling him in conflicting directions. Mark? Sarah's voice broke through his anxious reverie. He turned to find her standing in the dim light, her silhouette illuminated by the soft glow from the kitchen. There were shadows under her eyes, but they held a mix of determination and vulnerability. "Hey," he managed, trying to keep his tone steady. She inhaled deeply, her hands clasped together as if bracing for impact. "I've been meaning to talk about what you saw, the message. I will explain it all. I need you to know that I never wanted to hurt you." Her words hung heavily between them, thick with the unsaid truths and years of love. Mark felt his heart begin to quicken. He needed to hear her, yet the anticipation churned in his gut. Would he find the answers he craved or more fear wrapped in her confession? "Just tell me the truth, Sarah." "I can take it," he replied, his voice steadier than he felt. She stepped a little closer, struggling with her own emotions, as if each word she had to say felt like a weight being lifted but heavy at the same time. "Okay, but please, promise me you'll listen. No interruptions. A promise for the truth." The very thought ignited a mixture of fear and desperation within him. What lay ahead felt like the precipice of a cliff waiting for him to jump. He nodded, the lump in his throat too big to speak. And as the gravity of their moment sank in, Mark knew that this conversation was more than just a revelation of hidden betrayals. It was their crossroads. Would they find a way through this darkness together? Or was this the moment where their story began to fracture, sending them spiraling apart into uncharted territory? The truth was coming, but what would it bring? Mark could feel the air shift, thickening with unmoored emotions. Sarah's eyes flickered nervously, as if she were about to leap into a chasm of uncertainty. He braced himself, knowing that every word could unearth pain or pave a path back to understanding. "Okay," she started, her voice barely above a whisper. I should probably explain the message first." He nodded again, willing her to keep talking. "Please. Last month, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was a picture." She bit her lip, gathering courage, and he could see her hands shaking slightly. "A picture of us. It wasn't anything bad, it was from our last family vacation." But then there was another message. It said he missed me. His entire being seemed to freeze. "He who, Sarah?" She hesitated, her eyes darting away. "Jake. We dated before you. He reached out and I didn't know how to respond. You know how I thought about him back then." A sharp pain twisted in Mark's stomach. Jake, the name echoed like a distant thunder, pulling up waves of resentment. "You didn't tell me you were talking to him." "I haven't," she exclaimed, raising her hand slightly. "I didn't know what to think. I didn't want to hurt you, and it all felt so confusing. I just ignored it. But then he kept texting." Mark felt the ground beneath him tremble. "So, you've been talking to him? This whole time?" "No, I wasn't." Her voice rose, the frustration washing over her features. "I didn't respond. But I should have told you about it. I know that now." I wish I had. Her voice broke, eyes shimmering. "But I felt trapped. I thought it would just go away." "What else?" Mark could feel a storm brewing within him, dark and consuming, and he needed to know if there was more to this story. "I never meant for any of this to hurt you, Mark." She stepped closer, her fingers brushing against the edge of the kitchen counter. After he texted, I felt like my past was creeping in. I began to question everything. Question everything. His mind whirled, pieces of their life together flashing by, happiness intermingled with fear. What do you mean? Her gaze fell to the floor. It made me think about our relationship, about how hard things have been lately. I never thought I'd have feelings for Jake again, but those texts, they made me reflect on us. Silence wrapped around them, weighing heavy with unspoken words. The truth had spilled out, but it felt like a mere surface, and beneath lay a well of deeper issues, festering connections barely masked by time. Mark's heart raced as he searched Sarah's face for clarity, for hope. Sarah, what are you saying? Are you saying you want to go back to him? The question hung in the air, a sharp knife threatening to cut deeper, slicing through the years of memories and love they built. No. She replied fiercely, tears spilling down her cheeks. I love you. But I only wanted to understand why this was happening. I thought by keeping the past buried, we wouldn't have to confront it. Mark felt a fierce rush, a mix of anger and despair. And now? I think I need to confront it, Sarah whispered, looking directly into his eyes. We need to confront everything. Together. She reached for his hand, and he felt like standing on a tightrope, balancing between years of trust and the fear of losing it all. Her skin was warm against his, anchoring him at that fragile moment. But deep down, a question loomed. Could they really confront their past and still come out stronger? Or was unraveling the threads just going to lead to tighter knots? The night was still young, but Mark realized that more revelations were yet to come, ones that could shift their relationship forever. He took a deep breath, preparing for the next leap. What more was there to uncover in their tangled lives? Mark's heart thudded loudly beneath his chest, a relentless drum echoing in the stillness. The room felt smaller now, as if their words had squeezed the air out. Sarah's eyes were searching his, desperately seeking assurance, but the unsteady foundation of their relationship threatened to topple. Together, he echoed, tasting the gravity of her declaration. He squeezed her hand, half a lifeline, half a shaky promise. I want that too, but I just don't know how. Let's start with what you're feeling, she suggested softly, a glimmer of hope in her gaze. I can't change the past, but I need you to tell me what's happening in here. She placed a hand on his chest, right over his heart, as if to soften the blows. Right now, I feel betrayed. The word felt heavy on his tongue. You didn't talk to me about Jake. And now I feel like there's this wall of old memories creeping into what we have now. I get that. But please believe me when I say that I wasn't trying to hurt you. Those texts brought back feelings, but I didn't act on them. Not once. She took a step back, trying to regain her composure. I love you, Mark, and I don't want that to be lost. Her tears fell freely, and a part of him broke. For all the confusion and fear, he could see her truth, a reality shrouded in regret. It reminded him of a time when everything felt so clear, so easy. He sighed, letting the walls inside him creak. So, what do we do now? How do we navigate this mess? Talking. Openly. No more secrets. Her voice was steady now, filled with a resolve he hadn't expected. Let's be honest about our feelings, about what's been hard. I want it out in the open, everything. As he thought about it, Mark realized she was right. The surface scratches in their relationship needed treatment, or they could deepen into fractures. Fine, he replied, but it has to be raw. No sugarcoating. Just the truth. Agreed, Sarah nodded, wiping her cheeks. Go ahead then. Tell me what's been hard for you. He looked up, meeting her gaze with a newfound intensity. It's been hard watching you drift. The distance between us isn't just my imagination. Drift? Sarah interjected, her brow furrowing. I didn't realize you felt I was pulling away. It's not a fault, he rushed to say, his voice softening. Part of it's life, the routines we've fallen into. But it's like we're avoiding each other instead of facing things together. You were in a better place with Jake even if it was just text. That stung, Sarah. It stings even more when I see you questioning us. Her eyes sparkled with understanding. I didn't realize it felt that way for you. All this time, I thought I was being protective. I thought if I buried it all, we wouldn't have to confront it. Buried doesn't mean gone, he reminded her. Things like this resurface. Suddenly, an image struck him: the evening sunlight casting long shadows in their living room, the walls filled with laughter from their children, their blissful moments. He wanted them back. What happens if we uncover something that breaks us apart instead? She stepped forward, her expression determined. Then we deal with it. Together. The reality is, nothing is perfect. We have to fight for what we care about. All of this is a risk. But both of us, together. The vulnerability of her words echoed in him. He felt something shift between them, like a breeze stirring still waters. The tension was palpable, but it was also a promise to face what lay beneath. As the conversation deepened, Mark couldn't shake the thought that maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of finding the truth in their tangled lives. But the lingering question still gnawed at him: was he ready to face the hidden shadows, or would they find out they were fighting an uphill battle against love itself? Sarah's eyes shone with unshed tears, reflecting his fears, but also a flicker of something he barely dared to hope for: redemption. Mark took a deep breath, the weight of their conversation settling around them like an unseen fog. Sarah's hand lingered in his, slightly trembling yet warm, a tether to the moment as he wrestled with anxiety and hope simultaneously. It felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, with only dark waters beneath, and the thought of jumping sent him reeling. I guess, the cheating makes all of this tougher, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I didn't just lose trust, one lost a part of us. It's hard to fathom how we rebuild from something so broken. Sarah's expression shifted, a blend of regret and resolution. I can't erase what happened, Mark. But I can commit to being better. To us. Her eyes searched his again, and he wanted to believe her. Is being better enough? He asked, a hint of desperation creeping in. We could try and fail. I've seen it happen. We've seen it happen. I don't want to fail, she replied fiercely. What I want is a way forward. We can't rewrite our past, but we can write a new chapter. One that includes the truth, no matter how messy it gets. Mark looked away, focusing on a photo on the wall of their family camping trip. The laughter frozen in time contrasted sharply with the tension in the air. How do we start? Let us make a promise, Sarah said. No more hiding. No more texting Jake at odd hours. It ends today. That's a start, but it's south, not the entire road, he said. I need to know what I'm forgiven for and what I'm still facing. I need honesty, raw honesty, even if it hurts. And I need to hear you, too, she said, her voice softening. What scares you most right now? The question lingered in the air, heavy with anticipation. Mark felt the gravity of vulnerability. They had been skirting around the core of it for too long. Losing you, he confessed, his voice cracking just a bit. The admission felt like a chink chipped away from his armor. I never truly believed this could end, but now. I feel it. The corners of Sarah's mouth trembled as if holding back yet more tears. I want to choose you every day, for all the days ahead. But you have to choose to let me. He nodded, feeling raw and exposed. This feels monumental. There are shadows in my heart I've been afraid to face. Let us face them together, she urged, closing the distance between them. If we're going to do this, let us do it with our heart wide open. He looked deep into her eyes, searching for the flicker of the love that made them whole once. He could see it buried under years of complicity and mistakes. Would it be enough to find their way back? But in that moment, a sudden noise from outside drew both their gazes. The doorbell rang, cutting through the emotional atmosphere like a knife. Mark's stomach churned. Who could it be? That's odd, Sarah murmured, glancing towards the front door. Do you want to see who it is? He asked, the unease creeping into his voice. His instincts told him they needed this time to themselves, not an interruption. Sarah hesitated, her eyes darting to the door and back to Mark. Maybe it's just a package, or perhaps a neighbor. Or maybe it's something or someone that brings even more chaos, he replied uneasily. With uncertainty hanging between them, he found himself wondering if whatever lay behind that door could push them closer to healing, or drive them further apart. Mark swallowed hard. Are we ready for whatever's waiting out there? The question lingered, heavy with implications. Both of their hearts raced as the doorbell rang again. Mark exchanged a glance with Sarah, a whirlwind of emotions dancing in his chest. Each ring of the bell felt like a heartbeat, echoing in the silence that enveloped them. He could feel the tension stretching between them, a taut wire ready to snap. Maybe we should just ignore it, he suggested, half-heartedly. Or we could face it, Sarah replied, her voice steady, yet there was a tremor beneath the surface. We said openness, remember? With a deep breath that felt like grounding himself, Mark got up. As he walked to the door, his mind raced through possibilities. What if it was Jake? The thought made his skin crawl. Or worse, what if it was someone with news he wasn't ready to hear? He reached for the handle, hesitating for a second. You with me? He called back, needing her strength, needing her presence beside him as if they were gearing up for battle. I'm right here, she answered, her voice steady now, a soft reassurance on the tumultuous sea of his thoughts. He flung the door open, heart hammering in his chest. Standing on the threshold was a tall man with tousled hair and an eager expression. Mark recognized him instantly. Tom. What are you doing here? Hey, buddy. Sorry to drop by unannounced. I just got back into town and figured I'd check on you guys. You alright? He asked, concern tracing his features. He glanced between Mark and Sarah, sensing the thick air around them. Not really, Mark admitted, stepping aside. Come in. He glanced at Sarah, who remained by the couch, uncertainty etched on her face. Something about having a friend here made Mark feel momentarily safe. Tom moved inside, clapping a hand on Mark's shoulder. You look like you've been hit by a truck. Everything okay between you two? Before Mark could answer, Sarah chimed in, we're working through some stuff. She offered a tight smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Right, Tom said, nodding, but he still looked skeptical. You guys need to talk it out, like I'm doing with my wife after she had her freakout last month. Communication is key, man. Mark hated that the random crisis of Tom's wife echoed their struggles, but he appreciated the sentiment. He waved Tom toward the living room. You got a minute? Tom plopped into an armchair, visibly relaxed. Always. I'm here for you. Mark settled onto the sofa beside Sarah. His heart raced again, shifting from the surprise of seeing Tom to the weight of their unspoken issues hanging in the room. It's just, things have been rough. Tom leaned forward, genuine concern in his eyes. What do you mean rough? Come on, this sounds like deeper stuff. You want to talk? Mark glanced at Sarah, searching for a way through this emotional minefield. Could they actually start sorting things out with Tom present, or would this complicate everything further? Sarah's brows furrowed slightly, the question mirrored in her expression. Finally, she spoke softly, do you think we can really do this now, Tom? The air seemed to still as Tom absorbed her words. If it's messy, I can handle it. I'm not here to judge. I'm just a friend, okay? Mark felt a flicker of hope. A sounding board, someone to spill the raw truths to without fear. Perhaps this was what they needed, a nudge toward honesty. Okay, let us lay it on the table, but before he could elaborate, a loud crash echoed outside, making them all jump. It felt ominous, jolting the fragile moment they were trying to create. What was that? Sarah asked, her eyes widening. I don't know, Mark replied, his heart racing again. Let us check it out. As they all made their way to the door, Mark couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was waiting outside could change everything again. Was the chaos outside merely the universe's way of distracting them, or was it just another layer of complexity in their fragile situation? The question lingered in the air, charged with uncertainty as the storm of emotions brewed inside. Mark hesitated before stepping out the door. The chilling sound that had interrupted their moment echoed in his mind, twisting his stomach in knots. He exchanged a worried glance with Sarah. Her face was pale, and he could see the fear flicker in her eyes. Tom was already bypassing them, curiosity piquing his interest as he stepped onto the porch. What was that? A car crash. He mused aloud, eyes scanning the street. Mark followed, anxiety clawing at him. As he peered into the dim light, the fragments of night did little to alleviate his tension. I don't know, he muttered, bringing his focus to the yard across the street. The sight of a figure bent over something dark on the ground filled him with dread. Stay back, he warned, instinctively moving closer, Sarah close at his heels. As they approached the source of the noise, Mark could make out the familiar silver of what appeared to be a mailbox, utterly destroyed, lying at an odd angle. It had clearly been smashed into by something. Or someone. Let us see if anyone's hurt, Tom proposed, his voice a mix of concern and excitement. Mark turned to him sharply, no, we should call someone first. But the moment the words left his mouth, they fumbled, overshadowed by another voice rising from nearby. Damn it, Kit! Shouted a man from a driveway. Mark squinted into the dark, recognizing him as a neighbor. What have you done now? A tall woman, hair falling in wild waves, strolled towards them from the shadows, hands on her hips. I told you not to drive like a lunatic. She half screeched, and the mere sight of her fired a warning shot through Mark's mind. Mark. Sarah. She noticed them and her tone softened slightly. Hey, is everything okay? Just checking out the chaos, Tom replied, a smirk creeping onto his face. You know how it is when things go bump in the night. Mark rolled his eyes but couldn't suppress a small smile at Tom's attempt to lighten the mood. The absurdity of the moment felt surreal, overshadowing the gravity of their earlier conversation. But as the couple began to bicker, Mark felt an unusual weight of inspiration wash over him. He turned back towards Sarah, who was closely observing the spectacle. Can you believe this? Her voice was barely audible. These people are ridiculous. He chuckled lightly, but her serious expression stopped him. Look at us, Mark. We're standing here, avoiding our own mess. Is this where we are now? Those words hit him like a freight train. She was right. They were watching someone else's disaster play out while ignoring their own. Tom, Mark called, his voice firming up, why are we really here? Tom paused, confused. What do you mean? I mean this. We came here thinking we'd talk, but maybe we just need something to break the ice. We need to face each other more than whatever this is. His head tilted towards the chaos as he took a deep breath. Sarah's gaze softened, a flicker of acknowledgement passing between them. Her shoulders eased, just a bit. Tom grinned, you guys sound like you need a toast to the mess we call life. Suddenly, Sarah's phone lit up, vibrating harshly in her hands, interrupting them once more. The urgency in her expression snapped back Mark's attention. It's Jake, she whispered, fear flickering through her eyes. Mark felt his stomach churn. Why would Jake be calling now? After all that had been said and left unsaid, this moment felt monumental. This was the storm crashing down, pulling them back to their reality. Do you want to answer it? Tom prodded gently, recognizing the shift in the tension. Mark felt time freeze, the thought of facing Jake intensifying the heat in his chest. He looked at Sarah, uncertainty filling the gap between them. Would this be the moment they took off the masks? Or would it push them both back into hiding? With trembling fingertips, she answered the call. Little did they know this phone call would unravel everything they had tried to conceal and ultimately determine the course of their fractured relationship. What awaited them on the other end could be a revelation or another devastating blow. What would it reveal about their fragile lives? Mark held his breath as Sarah pressed the phone to her ear, her expression shifting to one of concentration. He could see her nostrils flare slightly, the way they always did when she was trying to process something raw and emotional. The tension in the air thickened, as if the universe itself had decided to lean in closer. "Hey Jake," she greeted, her voice wavering just a bit. Outside the bickering couple continued to argue, but their voices faded into the background. All that existed within Mark's world was Sarah and the secrets looming over them. He took a step closer, desperate to hear her side of the conversation, but afraid of the implications. "Yeah, I know," but her gaze darted toward Mark, and he could see the color drain from her cheeks. The panic set in like an unwelcome guest, a familiar wave that he couldn't fight. What could Jake possibly want? A normal conversation? Or something that would shatter the fragile balance they'd been trying to maintain? From behind them, Tom's encouraging voice broke through, "It's okay, Sarah. Just take your time." But his gentle tone felt trivial against the gravity of what was being said on the other end. "Really?" Sarah's voice cracked, and she quickly pressed the phone tighter to her ear as if that could block everything out. "You think that's a good idea?" Mark's heart raced. Whatever Jake was suggesting sent a tremor through her core. He watched as she rubbed her forehead, straining against an invisible weight pressing down on her. I can't," she trailed off, her words heavy with hesitation. Mark's hands clenched into fists, the urge to pull her close overwhelming. But fighting against that instinct, he stayed just outside of her personal space, unsure of how to breach the chasm that lay between them. "Sarah? You okay?" Tom ventured, but Mark held up a hand to silence him. This was about her choice, her moment. He couldn't intrude. "Fine, I'll think about it." That was it, the last shred of hope. She ended the call abruptly, her brows furrowing in deep concentration. "What did he say?" Mark asked, his voice just above a whisper. She exhaled heavily, her expression a mix of hurt and uncertainty. "He wants to meet to talk about something important." Tom furrowed his brow. "Why would Jake want to meet you?" "He's not trouble, is he?" Sarah was visibly shaken, the tension between them carving lines on her forehead. "I don't know, but he sounded serious." "Maybe it's just about the festival coming up, or the charity event," Mark suggested, grasping at straws, feeling as if he were losing her all over again. "No," it felt. She paused, as if struggling to pull the right words from the depths of her mind. It felt personal. The air between them thickened, filled with things left unsaid. Mark could sense the gnawing uncertainty in her voice and the brokenness that sat like a stone in his gut. Everything they'd been avoiding was finally bubbling to the surface. "Do you think he knows?" Tom chimed in, his naivete both a comfort and an irritation. Mark shot him a glance. "Let us not jump to conclusions." But his heart sank, dread pooled as he watched Sarah's complexion pale further. She didn't need to answer, he already knew. "Sarah," he said firmly, taking a step closer and gently placing a hand on her arm. "Whatever it is, we can handle it together." A flicker of something, maybe hope, maybe despair, flashed in her eyes. They locked gazes, and in that moment, a million emotions swirled between them. What if it changes everything?" she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. The question hung in the air, heavy and full. Mark felt the weight of her fear pressing down on his chest. "Then we'll deal with that too," he replied, wishing he could believe the lie he was selling. But right then, He thought of the chaos outside, of the couples arguing, and of Tom's misguided humor. It all felt so trivial against what was evolving in front of them. "A storm is coming," Sarah murmured, her voice barely holding together. Just then, Mark's phone buzzed, shattering the fragile moment. The loud vibration was jarring, but as he glanced at the screen, his entire body went cold. It was a message from Jake. And just like that, they stood on the precipice, waiting to see if this was the moment that would finally tear them apart or bring them together against the world. What could Jake possibly say that would shake the ground beneath their already unstable feet? Mark's breath hitched as he read the message on his phone, the mere sight of Jake's name sending a barrage of emotions through him. "We need to talk. It's important, and you deserve to know everything," it read. Each word felt like a punch to the gut. He looked up from the screen, meeting Sarah's wide eyes, searching for an answer. She appeared to be swimming in a turbulent sea of fear. "What does he mean?" She stammered, emotions tangled. "I don't know, but it doesn't sound good." He swallowed hard, trying to keep the rising tide of anger at bay. Mark could no longer keep the confusion bottled inside, it surged faster than he could anticipate. "You can't meet him, Sarah. Not after everything that has happened." She shook her head, her voice trembling. "Mark, I don't know what he wants. Maybe it's about the past, maybe." She paused as uncertainty swept over her like a fog. "Whatever it is, I have to know. I owe it to us." Us. The word echoed painfully in Mark's heart, reminding him of how close they'd come to unraveling. Each heartbreaking revelation had chipped away at their foundation, and here they were, teetering on the edge of what could be their greatest storm yet. Meeting him cannot be an option. "What about us? What if he tries to take you away again?" The worry surged within him. It felt insurmountable, like standing fast against a raging wind, feeling lost and confused. Sarah stepped forward, desperation painting her expression. "Mark, it's not about him. I need closure, for me. I have to confront whatever ghosts linger between us. This affects you and our family, and we deserve to break these chains together." Mark opened his mouth to protest, but there was a part of him that recognized the truth in her words even if it rattled with pain. The past was a shadow, haunting their every move. Perhaps the only way to truly move forward was to confront it head-on, but dread wrapped around his heart like a vine. "Okay, then we confront it together," he offered, the idea breaking free of his hesitation. "You don't face this alone anymore. We confront Jake together." Tom leaned against the doorframe, observing closely. "What do you want to get out of that meeting, Sarah? It's critical you know before you step into the storm." She hesitated a moment before responding, "I need to know why he reached out. What was the intention behind his messages? And I need to find closure." With defiance in her voice, she continued, "Then we build from there." Mark felt the air shift, the weight of her decision hanging heavily around them. Taking a step closer, he vowed to stand beside her. "I want to let you navigate this alone. Whatever it takes, we'll face it as a united front." Sarah's eyes misted over, gratitude bubbling in the depths of her gaze. "Thank you." Despite their fraying edges, something within him sparked. Maybe this was the genesis of their healing, the reckoning that could wash away the filth of dishonesty and hurt. Maybe they could come out stronger on the other side. As they turned back toward the couch, still battling the uncertainty that shrouded them, Mark's heart beat stronger. "So, when is this meeting?" Tom pressed. "Tomorrow," Sarah whispered, and Mark could see the tension returning to her shoulders. "Then we prepare," Mark declared, determination swirling. "We write down everything. Every worry, each fear, anything that boils in our hearts. When you face Jake, it becomes a part of us facing our collective truths." Tom nodded, "Right. It's time to lay it all out in the open. You have what it takes to stand your ground." That night, they huddled together, papers spread across the table like a map for their journey. Each word became a stepping stone, breathing a sense of hope into their raw wounds. With every moment spent planning, they traded affectionate glances, each act bridging the fractures slowly growing into patches of healing. As the sun began to rise the following morning, illuminating their dim living room, Mark felt a weight lift. Together, they faced uncertainty, hand in hand. With resolve, they chose love, the love that had weathered storms, the commitment to rebuild. Mark turned to Sarah. "Today, we rewrite our story," he said softly, his heart full. She returned the sentiment with a nod, holding his gaze filled with a spark of renewed hope. They were ready. No matter what lay ahead, they would not shy away from facing the truths of their past. The road was long, but together, anything felt possible. "Now let us do this." Tom cheered, clapping his hands together, lightening the mood. "You've got this. I'll be right here, cheering you on." With that, Mark and Sarah steeled themselves for what lay ahead. This could be the moment they found their way back to each other or forward to something completely new. As they stepped out together later that morning to meet Jake, the light of the day washed over them, igniting new beginnings filled with courage, trust, and the promise of love. Now, the moment had arrived, but they were no longer afraid. What the future held remained to be seen, but in each other's presence, they found strength. You need to subscribe now to catch the resolution of this journey with real stories that inspire and heal. This is the moment to show your support by leaving a like now. Comment with your thoughts on their transformation and the emotional breakthroughs. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who also deserve to experience this incredible journey. Your support makes all the difference in the world.